Only one event remains before the tribulation begins. You may have seen other channels make that claim, and they are not wrong. Jesus named one specific condition in Matthew 24:14, but what those videos are not showing you is the full picture, because that one condition is not moving alone. Right now, in 2026, 3 completely separate prophetic timelines, written by 3 different authors, centuries apart, are converging on the same point simultaneously. Not metaphorically, not symbolically, with verifiable, trackable, documented data that most Christians have never seen assembled in one place. I am going to walk you through all 3. I am going to show you the texts, the data, and the geopolitical events that connect them. And at the end, I am going to show you something happening right now inside the nation most Americans consider their greatest enemy. Something that connects all 3 timelines in a way that Jeremiah described 2,600 years ago. Stay with me, because this is the picture nobody is assembling. When the disciples asked Jesus directly, "What is the sign of your coming and the end of the age?" He did not give them a list of triggers. He named things that were not the trigger. Wars, nation rising against nation, kingdom against kingdom, famines, earthquakes. He said, "These are real, they are coming, but the end is not yet. These are birth pains. They are the pressure, not the delivery." Then verse 14, "And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come." Read the last 5 words, "and then shall the end come." Not gradually, not after a slow decline, the end, but the word that most English translations flatten into nothing, is the Greek word translated as nations, ethnē. This does not mean countries on a modern political map. It does not mean America or Russia or Iran as we draw borders today. Ethnē means distinct people groups, tribes, languages, cultural identities that God defined at Babel when he divided humanity. Jesus was not giving a vague spiritual goal. He was setting a specific, measurable, trackable objective. Every single ethnē on the face of the earth must be reached with the gospel. Not converted. Reached. Given a witness. And then, and only then, shall the end come. The tribulation does not begin until the Great Commission is complete. That is the condition. That is the dam. Now here is the data most people have never seen. The Joshua Project is a research initiative that tracks every ethnē on Earth, every tribe, every language group, every cultural identity. In 1990, there were approximately 12,000 unreached people groups remaining on Earth, groups that had never meaningfully heard the gospel. Today, that number is under 3,000. In 35 years, 75% of the unreached world was reached. The mission is not approaching the finish line. It is in the final straight. And here is what I find personally significant when I look at the map. The regions where the last unreached people groups are concentrated. The 1040 window, Afghanistan, Iran, Central Asia, Northern Africa, are the exact regions where the majority of active armed conflicts in 2025 and 2026 are happening. The wars are not random. They are concentrated precisely where the dam is thinnest. The closer the Great Commission gets to completion, the more violent the resistance becomes. What you are watching on the news is not just geopolitics, it is spiritual pressure around a timeline that is almost finished. Before I continue, tell me in the comments, did you know Matthew 24:14 was the specific condition Jesus named? Not the wars, not the signs in the sky. This one verse. Comment yes or no. Because most people who quote Matthew 24 have never stopped on verse 14 long enough to ask how close we actually are. Now look at what comes immediately after Matthew 24:14. Not the next chapter, not even the next paragraph, the very next verse. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. One verse. That is the distance Jesus left between the completion of the Great Commission and the most catastrophic event in the history of sacred space, the abomination of desolation. Daniel described it first, a covenant confirmed with many nations for 7 years. At the midpoint, the one who confirmed it enters the temple, stops the sacrificial system, and declares himself God. Jesus said this will happen again in its ultimate form. Paul confirmed it in 2 Thessalonians 2. John saw it in Revelation 13, but here is what most teachers skip. The abomination of desolation requires a temple. You cannot desecrate what does not exist. You cannot stop a sacrificial system that has not been restarted. Daniel 9:27 says he will cause the offerings to cease, which means there must be offerings happening before he stops them. So before the end can begin, the third temple must be built and functioning. And that is where the data gets uncomfortable. The Temple Institute in Jerusalem has been preparing for decades. Today, the priestly garments are made. The sacred vessels are prepared. The architectural blueprints are complete and approved. The Sanhedrin has been reconstituted for the first time since its dissolution in 425 AD, and in 2022, a red heifer was identified in Texas and brought to Israel, the first red heifer in nearly 2,000 years. That meets the precise requirements of Numbers 19. Why does a red heifer matter? Because without it, the temple cannot be consecrated. Numbers 19 describes the purification ritual that makes temple service possible. Every element of temple construction can exist: the stones, the vessels, the priests. But without the ashes of a red heifer, the entire system is ritually impure and cannot function. For 2,000 years, that heifer did not exist. In 2022, it arrived. Everything needed to begin. Temple construction exists today. Every physical prerequisite. The only thing missing is the political moment, and the political map of the Middle East just shifted dramatically. Iran spent decades building a ring of fire around Israel. Hezbollah in the north, Hamas in the west, the Houthis in the south, proxy networks in Syria and Iraq. The primary purpose of that ring was not just to threaten Israel. It was to make any change to the Temple Mount status quo, politically and militarily, impossible. Any Israeli government that moved toward temple construction would face simultaneous pressure from every direction. That ring has been severely degraded in 2025 and 2026. Hezbollah is weakened. Hamas is dismantled in Gaza. The Houthi missile program is disrupted. Iranian military infrastructure was struck directly on February 28, 2026. The political conditions that made temple construction unthinkable are not what they were 18 months ago. The red heifer is in Israel. The vessels are ready. The priests are trained. The proxies are weakened. The condition Jesus placed one verse after the Great Commission's completion is moving closer to being possible than at any point since 70 AD. I want to be precise here. I'm not predicting when the temple will be built. I'm showing you that the prerequisites described in Daniel 9, prerequisites that require a specific geopolitical environment to exist, are closer to being met in 2026 than at any previous point in modern history. That is not interpretation. That is a factual assessment of where the pieces are. The red heifer arrived in Israel in 2022. The temple vessels are prepared, and Iran's proxy ring around Israel, the primary obstacle to any change on the Temple Mount, has been partially dismantled in the last 18 months. Did you know these two things were connected? Tell me in the comments, because most people watching the news today are tracking the military story without seeing the prophetic prerequisite behind it. Now the third timeline, the one I held from the beginning, and this is the one that stops me every time I think about it. The nation that chanted death to Israel for 47 years. The nation that launched the first direct state-on-state ballistic missile attacks on Israel in April and October 2024. The nation whose military infrastructure was struck on February 28, 2026. But I am not going to talk about the missiles. I'm going to talk about what is happening inside that nation that the security analysts and news anchors are completely ignoring. Open Jeremiah 49. Written approximately 600 BC, more than 2,600 years ago. The subject is Elam. Elam is the ancient name for the southwestern region of modern Iran, the exact territory where Iran built its nuclear program, the exact territory targeted in the February 28 strikes. Behold, I will break the bow of Elam, the mainstay of their might. The bow was Elam's supreme weapon, their military identity, their strategic power. God said he would break it. Iran's supreme weapons in 2026 are its ballistic missile program and its nuclear infrastructure. On February 28, 2026, those weapons were struck directly. The bow of Elam was broken. On the Feast of Purim, the Jewish holiday that commemorates Israel's miraculous survival from a Persian death decree. Same nation, same geography, 2,600 years later. I will bring upon Elam the four winds from the four ends of heaven, and I will scatter them to all those winds. There will be no nation to which the outcasts of Elam will not go. The Iranian diaspora today numbers between 8 and 9 million people. They are on every continent, in virtually every country with a significant population. The U.S. State Department estimates over 1 million Iranians in the United States alone. There is no nation to which the outcasts of Elam have not gone. Verse 36 has already been fulfilled. The scattering already happened. Starting in 1979 and continuing through decades of repression and persecution. I will set my throne in Elam and destroy from there the king and the princes, declares the Lord. The throne of God in the biblical framework does not mean a physical seat. It means the active sovereign presence of God, claiming territory for his own purposes. God is not just judging Elam, he is claiming it. And then the final verse, the one that changes everything. But it will come about in the latter days that I will restore the fortunes of Elam, declares the Lord. After the judgment, after the scattering, after the breaking of the bow, restoration in the latter days. And Jeremiah does not say political restoration. He does not say military recovery. He says the fortunes of Elam, their destiny, their spiritual inheritance. In 1979, when the Islamic Revolution seized power, there were approximately 500 Christians in all of Iran. 500. In a country of 35 million people. Today, by the most conservative estimates from organizations tracking this on the ground, there are between 1 and 3 million Iranians who have left Islam and come to faith in Jesus Christ. The fastest growing underground Christian movement on earth, inside the most hostile regime on earth. Senior Iranian clerics reported publicly in 2023 that 50,000 mosques across the country had closed, not bombed, not banned by the government. Empty, because people stopped coming on their own. The U.S. State Department's 2023 International Religious Freedom Report documented Christianity rising dramatically in Iran despite violent government persecution. People are being executed for converting. People are converting anyway. Researchers tracking the underground church report something that has no secular explanation. Across Iran, in Tehran, in Isfahan, Mashhad, in cities that have been centers of Islamic power for centuries, Iranians from every background are reporting the same experience. A figure in white. He speaks their name. He tells them to seek other believers. Former Revolutionary Guard members, academics, women in full hijab, teenagers raised entirely inside the regime's educational system. Joel Rosenberg, one of the most respected analysts of the Middle East in the Christian world, said directly in February 2026, "There is literally no place in the entire Middle East or North Africa where as many Muslims are leaving Islam and coming to faith in Jesus Christ as inside Iran." Now connect this to Matthew 24:14. Iran is one of the last major unreached populations on earth, one of the last significant ethnē, and it is turning right now under missiles, under persecution, under a regime that kills people for converting. The condition Jesus named in verse 14 is being fulfilled in part by the nation your news anchor calls America's greatest enemy. Jeremiah wrote the complete sequence. Scattering, fulfilled. Breaking of the bow. February 28, 2026. God's throne claimed in Elam. 1 to 3 million people turning to the God of Israel inside Iran right now. Restoration in the latter days, unfolding as you watch this video. 3 timelines. Matthew 24:14. The Great Commission in its final phase. Daniel 9 and Matthew 24:15. The temple prerequisites falling into place as the political obstacles are removed. And Jeremiah 49. The complete prophetic sequence for Iran, playing out in the exact order it was written. 3 authors, 3 centuries apart. None of them knew each other, all 3 describing the same convergence window. Jeremiah described the complete sequence for Iran 2,600 years ago. We are watching that sequence execute in real time. Which part of this hit you hardest? The data on the underground church, the Red Heifer, or the Joshua Project numbers? Tell me in the comments, because I want to know which piece of this picture you had not seen assembled before. Only one event remains before the tribulation begins. Jesus named it, the gospel of the kingdom preached to every ethnē, and then shall the end come. But that condition is not moving alone. It is moving alongside 2 other prophetic timelines that were written centuries before the New Testament existed. The third temple. Every physical prerequisite is in place for the first time in 2,000 years, and the political obstacles have been partially removed. And Elam, the ancient name for Iran, where Jeremiah's complete sequence is executing in the exact order he wrote it, 2,600 years ago. This is not 3 separate stories. This is one picture with 3 frames. And in 2026, for the first time, all 3 frames are active simultaneously. You are not watching chaos, you are watching sequence. And sequence means someone wrote the ending before the story began. I'm not telling you to be afraid. Fear is the wrong response to this information. The right response is orientation. You now know where you are on the map. You know which conditions are active. You know what the text says about what comes next. What you do with that orientation is between you and God. But Matthew 24:14 answers when. Daniel 9 answers how long. And Daniel gives a specific number of days from the moment the abomination of desolation is set up to the end of the tribulation. 1,290 days. Scholars have been calculating this number for 2,500 years. When you run those numbers forward from the events of February 2026, you land on a window that should make every person alive today read Daniel 9 very carefully. That is the next video.